Today we got my man Mo Barrows out here at the Bully Roots 5, man. How you doing today, sir?
I'm all right. How you doing?
I'm doing good, man. Off the bat, man. First question, man. I mean, how things been going, man, since you became a judge for the ABKC?
Things are going real well. It's going really well so far. I'm enjoying it. It's something new, different for me. You know, being on the other side. You know, evaluating dogs versus getting mine evaluated. I like it a lot. I enjoy the people. I enjoy talking to the people, explaining things to them that I see that they may not see. You know, trying to help people learn, trying to do some of the things that some of the judges, you know, that I showed on under when I was showing. You know, some of the things they showed me and taught me, doing that from, you know, a simple way of teaching somebody, you know, the proper way to put a show lead and, you know, a show chain, snake chain on their dog, and just things like that. But I've been enjoying it a lot.
I gotta ask you, big dog, man, how was the experience judging your first nationals overseas, the Euro Nationals, man? And how did that all come about?
Euro Nationals, that was an amazing experience. It was something different, in an aspect that, you know, where it's just rapidly growing the community over there. I mean, it was standing room only around the show ring, which, you know, we rarely see here anymore, as far as everybody's just focused on the show ring. It came about kind of, well, what happened first, I was supposed to judge in Spain in September of 2014, and my passport was taking a little while. And, you know, I told the show host that, well, you might want to get another judge. That way, you're not getting my ticket at the last minute. That's going to cost you more money, and so on and so forth. And so, you know, they were really, you know, thankful that I wasn't trying to be selfish, and told them that, you know, they can go with another judge. And at that point in September, when we decided, you know, I would try to come at a later date, once I got my passport in order, they had told me about the Euro Nationals then. So from September, basically August really, from August I knew that I would be going over there in February judging. It was just one of those things. They asked me to keep it quiet till they posted it up and they promoted it. And there's a couple guys over there I became really good friends with, just through conversation over Facebook and doing the right thing. Like a lot of times just doing the right thing, treating people how you want to be treated, you know, it'll take you a long way. And in that situation, that's what happened, because, you know, I wasn't being selfish and wasn't trying to get the show host, and, you know, told them, you know, you can book another judge, that might be best for you, you know, save some money. It paid off for me in the end. You know, they said they wanted me over there to do the Euro Nationals in February. And I mean, once we got there, you know, they were like really gracious hosts. From the time we got to the airport and got off the plane, we had a driver the whole time over there. They took us everywhere we wanted to go. They showed us Madrid. Like, I mean, you could really see their love for the ABKC, the bully community, and even, you know, the love they just showed, like me, Al, Rolando, my wife, Jane Bennett, Sean from the EE. You could just, I mean, they treated us really well over there.
Now, was that your first time in Europe?
Yeah, that was my first time.
Man, did you ever think, man, that dealing with the American bullies, they would actually take you overseas to other countries?
I never thought that. Like, honestly, I never even looked at it that far. I went from, like, just keeping these puppies alive to, you know, trying to grand champ, you know, my dog. Because, you know, at that time I just felt the extreme champions didn't get any respect at all. And then it went from trying to grand champ the dog to, well, you know, I still don't feel like extreme dogs getting respect. Let's try to make them top dog. And then I really didn't have any ideas as to what I was going to do after that. It was more so I was going to just keep bringing more and more productions out and trying to go that route. And then, but I kind of felt like it wasn't really anything else to do in the show ring. And that's when I kind of just decided to try the judging thing. But never did I think, you know, that I would be looking up and be like, hey, we want you to come over here and judge in Europe. And, you know, I mean, that was huge. Like, the people, you walked in the show ring, got a standing ovation. When you ever
really?
See a judge get a standing ovation?
Nah, boy, no, over here, you probably get like, man, why you bring my dog?
And I mean, even though maybe it's not bad,
Yeah.
people are really what I've learned. People just want a fair assessment of their dog, and you know.
How are the bullies overseas?
They were nice dogs. They were really nice dogs. They had some really nice dogs over here. Dogs that could come over here and compete over their own.
Okay.
And I mean, now they're starting to import a lot of champions and grand champions from here. They're starting to buy them over there.
Now, do you have any of your blood overseas right now?
I don't have anything of mine overseas. I haven't did a breeding in 2 years now.
I was going to ask that. When the last time you did a breeding?
I haven't did a breeding in about 2 years now. I'll probably do some stuff coming up here soon. It's just, it gotta fit, you know. If it doesn't work, if I don't think it's gonna work, I'm just not gonna throw a breeding together just to have puppies so I can say, hey, I got some Papa puppies to sell. And so I finally got, you know, some females that I think complement him. And, you know, I had some personal stuff coming on where I took some time off, but I finally have some females where I feel they complement them, you know, where they can give me something else to come in the ring with. So now I do some breedings, but I haven't did anything in a couple of years.
I got to ask you back, Big Dog. Tough question, man. Because I remember last time we did an interview, you know, we talked about it. You know, it was tough when you were campaigning Big Papa, man. You know, as far as like with the family, man, because you're always on the road. You know, being married, it can be hard, man, on a relationship, man. How is it now that you're a judge and you get a chance to travel with your wife? Does she see what the hard work resulted into?
Yeah, she understands. I think she always understood the hard work. It's more so, what I try to tell people is try to find a balance between home life and, you know, dog shows. I think, you know, from March, well, really from April 2012, I can't remember how many weekends that I was actually at home. And I mean, now it's a little different because I'm still traveling. But, you know, one, I'm not driving 12, 14 hours up the road to the dog show. You know, I just hop in the plane. And, you know, I mean, I'm paying, you know, a lot of times she comes, so I'm buying her plane ticket and things like that. But, I mean, it's different. And I don't judge as many shows as I could. You know, I started to turn some down and, you know, kind of balance everything, you know. So we'll do something like, you know, we'll take a trip to the beach for a couple days or something. You know, I found a little healthy balance. And even a lot of times, like if I go out of town and she comes with me, I'll find something to do in that city. You know, if I get there early or whatever, I'll find something to do there. Like last year we went to Kansas. We flew out there, so we went to Kansas City and ate at Arthur Bryant's, like the legendary barbecue place or what have you. Went to see the Negro Baseball Museum and things like that. So, you know, just a balance. You know, things at home are good. But just the balance, that's what I would tell anybody. When you're showing and if you're out here that much, you know, you got to balance that home life. Or it's going to be, it could be some problems, you know, not necessarily, but you got to balance, you know.
I gotta ask you, man. Do you see yourself getting back into the show ring?
I can see myself getting back into the show ring. I don't know if I would see myself campaigning another dog. Just because of the time, the money. I mean, it's a lot of money, a lot of time, and I mean, like, I don't think people realize how much hard work it goes behind the scenes. You know, trying to keep your dog in tip-top condition to campaign for the shows, because you have things, you know, pop up. You know, you might have, you know, heck, you know, he might break out with a skin infection. You at the vet, you know, get treated anything. You know, he might break out from anything. All different kinds of things happen during that long season. And, you know, it's grueling on the animal, too. You know, you got your dog traveling up and down the road. You know, I mean, at some points I remember in 2012 where, like, I just took a week off, just not so much for me. But, you know, it seemed like Papa was drained, you know, going up and down the road. And, you know, I think that's what all of them, even I think you saw that with the top dogs last year. You know, some shows you would catch them at, you know, and they wouldn't be, you know, wouldn't have the same amount of energy, or, you know, they didn't show as well as they would at other shows. It's a long road. I can't never say never. But I can't see myself really getting in there and campaigning a dog. I have a Papa son that I'm going to show next week in South Carolina. I think he'll champ and Grand Champ out really quick. But that's about it. And that, you know, he was off of a breeding that, you know, a pup back breeding. You know, he's 13 months. But I enjoy the judging. You know, I like this side of it. You know, you interact with people more. And, you know, people don't, you know, and since I'm not showing, I guess people don't really feel like you have an ulterior motive when you're talking to them. And like I learned, as long as you're genuine with people, even if they don't agree with your pick, you know, as long as they feel like you were fair, you know, you don't really have much trouble.
Hey man, I gotta say, man, I'm really proud, man, to see what you're doing, man, and moved up in the judging and overseas, man. Great representation for the breed. I gotta ask you, man, have you talked to Robert Lee since, you know, because y'all had the big battle with Bistro and Papa, man, during that year, battling for 1 and 2 in the ABKC. And now he's a judge now. So you ever get a chance? Have you ever had a chance to talk to him yet since he's become a judge?
Yes, me and Rob, we judged together in Atlanta last month at Rolando's show, and we sat down. We actually had breakfast at the hotel and everything. Me and him. I don't like 2012 wasn't anything personal. I look at it like it was two people.
It was great, man.
Yeah,
I see it as positive, like that. Looking back with baseball, the Sammy Sosa, Mark McGwire.
And yeah, it's funny when we were doing it in 2012. We used to like message each other on Facebook, and you know, that's what we would always compare it to, like, you know, the Mark McGwire, Sammy Sosa race of you know, when they were having the home run race, and you know, I think McGwire finished with 70 and Sosa 60 something, but that's what we compared it to. But that, like, in my opinion, that was probably the greatest year in the ABKC. And I mean, you know, Rob is still doing great things. Bistro went on to win back-to-back, you know, top dogs, which, you know, I didn't think anybody would beat them. Because, you know, after 2012, after you go through all that and you compete as hard as we competed in 2012, I just didn't think anybody would really have, you know, the makeup, the mental makeup.
It's a grind, right? Because you talked about it. Grind and the money aspect. And
yeah, you know, once you did it one time, you know what it takes to keep that dog in tip-top condition. You know, it's not that he didn't have things pop up, but, you know, he knew how to jump on it quick and get him back out there. And, I mean, that's a testament to him and, you know, Nubs. And then also Bistro, you know, for the dog that he is, that's a testament to him. Because it's not easy, no matter what people say. It's not easy to win top dog 1 year, so you're talking about somebody that did it, you know, back-to-back years. So, I mean, you have to respect him and you know, the whole bully market program. And I mean, you know, in 2013 he had, you know, the Gold Rushes and some of them, and you know, in 2014 he had, you know, it was different dogs. He had the King Leonidas and Castro. You know, there's a couple dogs, tough dogs out West Coast. I think Brute. There's another one out there, I can't remember. So it's not like, you know, he didn't have competition. But, you know, once you've been down that road, you know, then you got a leg up, you know what to do. And then, I mean, also, you know, like Nubs is a really amazing handler. And then, you know, Bistro is an amazing dog. So you can't, and when you put all that together, and plus, you know, just the track record, and they did it before, you know, I mean, that's hard to beat. You're talking about a dog, heck, when in 2012, I think he won 29 or 30 shows then. So the numbers were always there. So, you know, you're going to have dogs that are going to have to put up big numbers to beat him. And, you know, and I mean, they go and they seek out the competition. You know, if it's a show 15 hours away and it's a show 6 hours away, but their competition that they're competing for, that top dog, is 15 hours away, you know, they would take that 15-hour drive to compete. So, yeah, Rob, like, yeah, you know, Rob's a good dude. That's my man. We sat down, we ate breakfast in Atlanta. You know, we all went out. Friday night, we bowled. You know, we're on the same bowling team. But yeah, Rob's a real good dude. I think anybody that deals with him probably tell you that too. If they sat down and talked to him, yeah.
I gotta ask you, big dog. Since now you've been the judge, you get a chance to really travel around the country and put your hands on different dogs. Are the bullies looking today compared to a couple of years ago? Do you see the improvement in the breed, or do you see status quo?
I think people probably gonna kill me for this. I think it was more competitive a few years ago. I think you still have, you know, nice dogs. I think, you know, you have dogs that really stand out like Bison and German Ruger. You know, even Castro's a really nice dog. There's a lot of Malice, you know, rest in peace. But I think the overall, you know, the quality and numbers, I think was better years ago. I think you had more, you know, more consistent. You know, you can get in the ring and you have more consistent quality in the ring than now. And that, you know, that could be a lot of different reasons. It might just be, you know, so many shows. You know, before a few years ago, you didn't have a whole lot of shows. You had shows, but it wasn't a whole lot of shows, and there wasn't a whole lot of shows in every area. Now, you know, you might have, in 3 months, you might have 3 shows in the same state. So I think part of that could be because of the number of shows in the same area. I think sometimes maybe all the people aren't making the same shows, where, you know, years ago, you might only have, a New Jersey show in October. That might be your New Jersey show. You know, you might have one show. You might have a Maryland show. Or they used to have 2 or 3 in Maryland, but you know, those would be your shows on the East Coast. You're gonna get a New Jersey show in October. You're gonna get 2 or 3 Maryland shows. And if you miss those, you didn't have any shows in the Northeast. You know, down south, you might have, I'm going back now, the Lady J show, Terry Huntley, Terry and Malika, their show in Spartanburg would be every May. The Lady J show would be every November. And Candy would have a show March or April in the Carolinas, and that was it. If you didn't catch those shows, you didn't have any. So everybody would come out. Now, you know, you might have a South Carolina show. You might have 5 or 6 Georgia shows. You might have 5 or 6 shows up north. So I don't think the people are bringing the dogs out. You know, I think they're more so in the backyards now, and every now and then, you know, you get 1 or 2 or maybe 3 or 4 of the really nice dogs out, but I don't think you're getting the turnout where you'd have that real competitive class in the ring.
Now that's the difference that you saw overseas.
Everybody was there, and you gotta remember that was for Euro Nationals.
Yeah, okay.
So you had people flying in from Italy and England. I mean, you had people everywhere. France, you know, coming in the show. But yeah, the difference over there, and they don't have as many shows over there either. So yeah, that's the difference. They're bringing everything out, you know. Which here, I hope we can get back to that, because I remember in 2012, you know, you had shows, not nationals or anything like that. You had regular shows where you had, like, you know, your bistros, your Big Papas, your Appletini, Stacks.
I mean, one year you had the mini nationals up in Jersey, man, where y'all had like the top of the top up there, man.
Yeah, all those top 10 dogs in the same ring. You had like Bistro, what's the dog? Lev Rock, KO the Beast, Stacks, but it was, and they're all top 10 dogs that was in a regular show at one time competing, and like that's what you really don't see anymore. So, maybe, I don't know, maybe I can retract my statement. Maybe the quality of the dogs are getting better, because like if you look at like a Ruger, you know, structurally, you know, Ruger, your Malice, even Bison, if you look at them structurally, you know, they're pretty solid the way they're put together, you know, compared to the dogs earlier, because, you know, a lot of bullies were weaker in the rear, you know, as far as the angulation turn to the stifle. So in that aspect, you know, you can see the improvement, but it's kind of a drop off from the top dogs. Like I said, in 2012, you had 10, 12 dogs, grand champions at one show that could win, you know, and now, you know, it's kind of a drop off from the top dogs to, you know, even Castro, you know, for a classic, he's pretty well put together. And, you know, so you have a drop off from those top dogs to the other dogs, you know. But I think it could be because that many people aren't really coming out. mini national here. It was like the atmosphere or the scene I described in Spain. You couldn't get to the show ring in mini nationals. People yelling and whistling, and, so I think with the amount of shows we're having, and money, people don't have the amount of money to come out like they used to, so they pick and choose. So you don't get that class where you have those 10, 12 dogs in there in that one class, and you're like, wow, everybody could get a first place ribbon, but I gotta pick who's going to, I gotta pick out of 3 when everybody could really place. And so that's what I think the difference is now.
You made me think about something. Next to last question. Has there ever been a point, man, that made you ever want? You probably ain't gonna answer that though. I'm sorry. I shouldn't even ask. Has there ever been a point, man, that make you want to say, man, I'm not gonna pick a first place though?
I've done that before.
Really?
Yeah, I've done that before.
How do people feel about it?
They were alright with it.
Okay.
And I think what gets lost a lot of times is the explanation that you give people. If you're rude to people and things like that, then of course they're going to be standoffish. Or if they're coming off standoffish, and then then I get attitude back and start yelling, then of course it's going to escalate. But actually, a couple of people, afterwards, they'll Facebook me and be like, hey, hey, help me, I want you to look at these dogs. I'm looking at this dog. I want you to tell me what you think, get something to bring back in the ring that could win. It's all about the explanation. If you're honest with people and tell them, and I just told them, in a respectful way, what was wrong with the dogs and why I didn't give out a first place. And believe it or not, actually, one guy said on the next time, I think it was a Detroit show, I judged, and I seen him up in Indiana. He's like, hey, hey, look at, come look at this dog I got now. So it's really, I've did it a few times, but I've had some people get mad sometimes, but the majority of the time, people are just like, oh, okay, all right, and then, if it's something that, they think they can fix, or they want to know, is it something I can fix, or, is it something that's not going to be fixed? Of course, if you didn't give a first place ribbon, it's probably something that, they can't fix. You just tell them, and they're like, thank you. But I think it's a misconception that the people that show in the bully community, they get upset. What I've seen is people get upset when they feel like they were genuinely, wrong. If they just weren't judged fair or treated fairly, or if they feel like they were just flat out disrespected. I haven't had any problems in the ring as far as, once, people ask me why didn't they win or something. Once I talked to them and explained to them what I saw and what I was thinking, I haven't had any problems as far as people being upset and storming away and things like that. So I guess that's a blessing. But then again, I was on the other side of the league, so I kind of know what they feel like. So just try to give them the best honest answer possible and be respectful, and it's worked so far.
I gotta ask you, Big Dog. I said next last question. Where do you see yourself? Because it seems like you're always making goals. You got Big Papa to the #1 spot in the ABKC. You're now a judge with the ABKC. What's up next for Mo Barrow, and where you see yourself going with this American Bully movement?
Just helping people. My wife would joke, she'd be like, that phone's always ringing. Just helping people. And some days, the phone will just go, and I can't get back to people. And I end up calling them. I guess the biggest thing, I remember a guy, he showed under me in Florida, and I think he was from Virginia or up here. And I talked to him after the Florida show a little while, and then he called me, and he wanted me to, give him some handling tips and things like that. And I was working, and I told him I'd call him back that night, and I didn't call him back. And about a week passed, and I was just riding down the road one day, and he just popped in my head, and oh man, I'm supposed to call that guy back. And I called him, and he was like, oh yeah, I understand you're busy, and we talked, and but just helping people. It's a lot of people that they get involved in the bullies, they get taken advantage of, or a lot of things people just don't know. People don't know what a stifle is on a dog, so And I mean, just people don't know what proper front assembly is or proper rear assembly or even breed type for that matter. You know, and just helping people. Like I was talking to one of my friends and he's like, oh, just keep picking dogs that had the most breed type. And so, you know, and I've been seeing a lot of people post that up. So, you know, we use that as a chance like to talk about what breed type really is. And I'm like, well, you do understand when you say that, you're saying judges are picking a dog that best represents an American bully. And like, so I think what you're meaning to say are judges are picking a dog with the most mass and substance. And like things like that, because I think a lot of people are confusing breed type with mass and substance. Like breed type are the characteristics that make an American bully. So breed types are the things that's outlined in that standard. So, you know, when they say, somebody said judges are picking dogs with the most breed type, but that would mean judges are picking the dogs that best represent the American bully. Because, you know, breed type is everything that's outlined in the standard, from, you know, the temperament to the movement to the structure to the mass and the girth. And I think people are confusing, like, you know, the mass and girth, or what we call bully, with breed type. So me and him had to have that conversation. I was like, you know, so when you say judges are picking the dogs in the most breed type, I said, and you post that up, you're really saying judges are picking a dog that best represents the American bully standard. I said, so I think what you're trying to say is they're picking, you're trying to say, argue that we're picking dogs that have more mass and bone. And, you know, he's like, oh yeah, I didn't know that. I thought breed type meant mass. I'm like, no, breed type are the characteristics that make a Frenchie a Frenchie. You know, American Pit Bull Terrier, American Pit Bull Terrier, American Bully. It's all the characteristics. And so like that, I enjoy that because, you know, this is stuff that I didn't know when I got started in 2005. I thought, you know, breed type was just, you know, bully is dog. But, you know, so it's stuff like that, just talking to people. Like now somebody overseas is looking at puppies and he asked me to help him. You know, he Facebooked me like, could you help me pick my puppy? You know, like we need video and we need pictures. You know, the seller had just sent them front shots of all the puppies, and I'm like, you know, like we're gonna need some more pictures and video. You know, if you're about to buy a puppy that you know you're hoping turns to a show dog, I said, because we can't make a decision. You know, I'm like, or you can't make a decision, and I can't help you make one just because we're looking at a picture of the front of the dog. I said, we don't know what the rest of the puppy looks like. You know, or the puppies, and you know. He didn't know that. You know, I think he came back. He said, well, the seller said he only has these pictures. I said, well, you know, you got to tell the seller that he's going to have to send you video with more pictures, because you can't pick which puppy you want based on the front shot and then he's going to show you the puppy. You don't know. So just things like that, you know. I mean, I was that person that saw one picture of a puppy and bought it, and then you get it off the plane and you're like, whoa.
This ain't what I expected.
Yeah, so I think like that's really what I want to do, just keep helping people and, you know, taking off of that, helping people, educating people, and continuing to learn myself. That's it.
Last question for you, because I know you got to get ready to judge a show too. Why is ABKC the registry for you, Rico?
For me, like I was always a competitor, and so for me, you know, the ABKC, you had the most competition here. You know, it's not a knock on any other registry or anything like that. But you know, the ABKC, like I guess you saw it kind of. Well, I think Al and Fernando probably were making a point, so when they went to RKC Nationals and won.
But that's interesting you brought that up, because I was going to ask you about that. How did you feel that a judge went to go show over at RKC Nationals? Before you answer that, because I talked to Lawrence last week, who was actually in the ring during that time with Ruger, with his dog Champion Boss, and he didn't have a problem with the outcome, because, you know, he said he sat by the ring and saw the judge and saw what he was picking with the angulation. And he talked about how his dog didn't have the angulation compared to Ruger. So that was an eye opener for me to see that two people. Antonio McClendon also talked about it, that, you know, you can't be salty that a dog comes from another registry to come in and win if it, you know, meets the standards and does what it do, because Ruger's a bad boy.
Yeah, and like we're all one community, so like, I didn't have a problem with Al going to show. I thought it was good, you know. I don't see a problem with anybody showing in his, you know, whatever registry or registries they want to show in, you know, because we're all one community, and you know, like we're supposed to be representing the American bully in a positive light. So, you know, if Al wants to go show RKC, I don't see a problem with that. You know, people that were maybe solely RKC and they decided they're going to show ABKC, I don't think anybody should have a problem with that, because I mean, you know, as far as I know, you know, it's not going to affect my life any way, shape, form, or fashion if people are judging or showing ABKC or RKC or both. You know, it's not going to affect my bottom line, my house, so I don't see why anybody else should really be concerned with it, you know, with Al going to RKC and showing, or vice versa. I think it's all positive publicity, and I think, you know, it's good competition. You know, if you feel like Ruger's the best, then, you know, like kind of like what Rob did with Bistro and I did with Papa, you know, then you gonna take them anywhere to show, whether it's RKC, ABKC, BBCR, you know, whatever else might pop up. But I just think the ABKC, you know, I've always enjoyed the ABKC. You know, it was the first registry. I wouldn't dare knock any other registry. You know, this is just what was home for me. It was the first registry, you know, the first bully show I've been to was ABKC. And I haven't seen anything within the ABKC to make me say, oh, you need to leave and try something else. You know, that's just it. You know, I haven't really seen anything to make me say, you need to leave. How you doing? All right, and go to another registry or something like that. And, you know, so, but, you know, I don't have a problem with any of them, you know. I have friends that show RKC, ABKC, anything they can show when they're there, you know, UKC. Yeah. So, but I thought that was a good thing Al did. And, I think, you know, going forward, because Al's a good friend of mine, I don't think that's the last time, you know, they're going to actually see Al in an RKC ring. Al just loves to show dogs, so, you know, I don't think that's the last time they'll see him.
Hey, I've seen him in the ring all the shows.
I mean, Ruger's an awesome animal, and like the two people you mentioned, like they're high character people, Antonio McClenny and Lawrence. So, yeah, they're not gonna have a problem. And you can't, in competition, you can't really have a problem. It's like when you growing up playing basketball, and you know you at your park where y'all always at, and you know some guys from out of another part of Jersey or whatever come over there, and they come play. Either you gotta win or you gotta lose. But you know you can't get mad that they came to the playground where you and your boys at, and they wanted to play y'all. You know, so you just bring your A game.
Hey man, I gotta say, man, I really appreciate your time today as always. I appreciate what you do for the breed. Hey man, continue doing what you're doing with the judging. Hey, I want to see if you gonna get back in that ring, man. Get back in that ring. You ever get the itch? Get the itch? Like you said, you're gonna be down South Carolina. You're gonna be down South.
Yeah, but I get a little bit, like sometimes, like, you know, every now and then I get it. I'm like, man, I need to start breathing, like really breathing again. Like, 'cause, you know, like every now and then somebody like try to take a little shot at me, or like try to take a little shot at Papa. I'm like, you know, like we can still do it. You know,
You know I'm gonna ask you about the Raiders, man. What's up with the Raiders, man? What they gonna do this year?
I don't know. I hopefully. Let's shoot for 8-8.
8-8. Shit,
Hey,
I hope we get that way. 8-8.
We gotta take small steps. We got a quarterback. We got Derek Carr, like him. Linebacker Khalil Mack, like him. That's about it. Charles Woodson, like he just won't age.
Yeah, you ain't lying, man.
That's about it. But hopefully we can get some good draft picks. And I don't know.
Hey man, thank you again for the interview, big dog, as always.
Thank you, man.
All right.
All right.